Welcome back. ITC is among the top Nifty losers after the company saw a large block deal where 32 crore shares worth 13,000 crore rupees changed hand. In fact, the deal even got upsized. Abneesh Roy, Executive Director at Nuvama Institutional Equities, now joins in with his thoughts and insights. What are the investor implications? Today, the stock price is under pressure on the back of this large supply, but BAT still holds significant stake in the company, which means that future stake sale is also possible. What does this mean for a shareholder in ITC?
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, so our thoughts on this is, yes, this overhang of the VAT further, say around 23% stake will be there in the minds of investors because it's very high value. Because in March 2024, when the first tranche of sale happened, that time it seemed that this was a one-time event, and the investors were not expecting this. Now there will be a thought that maybe after a few quarters again, one more tranche can it come, that overhang will be there. On the fundamental side, things were improving. If you see in the cigarette, 5% volume growth in Q4 was a good number. If you see how many FMCG company in their core part of the business have seen a 5% volume growth in Q4, even Marico, which is a top tier volume growth, in the core part of the business, it is largely low single digit kind of growth. That's true even for Tata Consumer, which has also done well, for example. Most other FMCG companies are broadly at low single digits. So 5% volume growth was a good number. And palm oil price correction was a good news for ITC's FMCG business, which has been struggling last 2-3 quarters in terms of margins. We are still expecting that FMCG business will see a revival in terms of margins from Q2. Even paper business, if you see, which has been struggling because of Chinese imports, there we do see that Century Papers, that M&A, the approvals will come, and in H2 we'll see much healthier numbers. But this overhang now limits the stock more towards a bit lower PE multiple than earlier. So we will see clarity from BATs. It's something we need, whether this is the last tranche. Otherwise, you're absolutely right. 23% stake still means a lot of value, right? It's a 5 lakh crore plus market cap. 23% stake is a huge number. So that, I think, in the mind of investor will be a concern. Otherwise, from the government side, government clearly is making sure that the illegal part of the cigarette industry loses market share. And that's why ITC is reporting a 4-5% volume growth. Godfrey Phillips is growing faster in cigarette, but that's because they are a much smaller player and they are doing a bit of more trade incentive. So we are positive on ITC, but this overhang adds one more dimension to the entire aspect.
Abneesh, good morning. Thank you for joining in. In an ideal case scenario that BAT does clarify that it does not intend to sell any further stake in ITC for the foreseeable future, in that scenario, would you value ITC at a higher multiple? Because if that is an overhang that concises it to a lower PE, would that clarification result in a potentially higher PE for the stock?
Absolutely, it works that way because supply of stock for such a large market cap company and such large 23% stake left. Yes, if that clarity comes, the P multiples, etc., will be higher. Currently, if you see pre this announcement, we were valuing and giving a target price for ITC at around 532, and we were valuing the ITC cigarette business at 23 times P multiple and the FMCG at 6 times price to sales. Yes, now if that clarity is not there, we will shift towards possibly a lower multiple because that overhang is there. And on the vice versa, if we get that clarity from BAT that now, listen, we are done and dusted, then I think the investors will get a comfort and then the higher P multiple can come. Otherwise, the stock will be a more range-bound stock and it could underperform some of the other FMCG names where this kind of an overhang is not there.
What about ITC Hotels? What stake does, BAT would have a similar stake in ITC Hotels as well, mirror shareholding. What is your view on BAT bringing down their stake in ITC Hotels?
Yeah, so there I would say that they have clearly maintained that hotels for BAT is not a core part of their business, not a core part of their overall portfolio. So it is a question of time. I would see that as a financial investment. So I would say that there is much more likelihood of BAT completely paring down ITC hotels versus say, a cigarette company. But currently, if you see what our view is, and I cannot speak on behalf of BAT, the entire hotel industry is seeing very good times. It's in an upcycle. So what we think can happen is BAT would like to ride that upcycle maybe for some quarters and then take a call. But they've clearly mentioned that this is a financial investment, a non-core investment, the hotels.
All right, Abneesh, thank you so much for sparing time and joining us today to discuss the news of the morning, which has been that big block deal in ITC. For now, the stock around about 3% lower. Also, just mentioned a few minutes earlier that it's also because the fact that it's trading ex-dividend, that's also weighing in on the price.
The dividend amount is?
Almost 6.25 quarter.
So about half of the loss is explained by the going ex-dividend and half because of the supply pressure.
So there you can see there, ITC 3.25% lower, currently at 420. We call time on this edition of Trading Hour. We leave you with the Nifty around 60 points lower, still looking to recover from the lows of the day. From Rima, me and the team that put this show together, thank you so much for watching. Halftime report on the other side.